What's up, guys? I'm Jack. This is Daisy. And welcome back to another Hades challenge. So after beating Hades without using my attack, special, or cast, I thought it would be really fun to do a commenter suggested challenge by Tempo13, by the way. He has the pinned comment in both of my previous videos because he does some really awesome math on how many times exactly the attacks were used in both the Tula run and the no attack caster special run. And if you're watching this, Tempo, love you, man. Shout out to you. You're amazing. So yeah, cast only run sounds like a lot of fun, and you can see the results of that in the background. The Apollo cast is absolutely broken, and when you combine that with some of the other cast boons that you can get from other gods, this becomes one of the strongest builds I've ever played with. In fact, during this run, I even got lucky enough to get the Apollo and Zeus duo cast boon, which allows lightning strikes and the sun strikes from Apollo at the same time, which just absolutely wild. Look at this damage. So yeah, cast only, extremely viable. Too viable. So for what I decided to do for this video instead is cast only, but I can't use the Omega cast, so I can't use any charged casts with this at all. And I just thought that would make it a little bit more interesting. With the previous run where I basically just used the Hephaestus sprint boon the entire time, you guys just got to see me blow through the game. Super easy, never ran into any problems. And I figured I'd just make it a little bit more interesting for y'all. Add some suspense, you know? So, the rules of this run, super simple. I can only use my cast or random spirits that are around the place to damage enemies, and I cannot use my Omega cast. So I looked through the entire list of Hades god boons and found some that might help us out for this. The first one I'm going for is from Demeter, because, wait, is it Demeter? I think it's Demeter. Yeah, so from Demeter, and it just allows your cast to freeze enemies and deal damage over time. And she actually has two boons that allow us to do that. So we're going to go for both of those. There's also a Hestia boon that gives us some non-Omega cast damage. I'd like the Apollo boon that makes our casts grow in size. That would be great. And then of course just anything that increases our health or the damage of our cast, like any chaos boons that do that, stuff like that. So yeah, let's get started. Oh, and if you hear any weird noises in the background, that's Daisy playing with cardboard and destroying my entire apartment. So I spent about 20 minutes dying and resetting my RNG until I got this Demeter boon with the boon that I want first. And yeah, you'll see what it does right here. It just causes some icicles to fall on enemies every second and does deal a decent amount of damage. And it freezes enemies in their place for a second, so that's also really nice. Though that is somewhat redundant considering they can't really move while they're in our cast regardless, but I'll take it, you know? And this, like many other builds in Hades, is going to start off really slow before it actually gets somewhat powerful. Not nearly as powerful as our Apollo Omega cast build, but, you know, it's not bad. Actually, it is kind of bad, but it's not horrible. Oh, and I tried to scout out a Phrynos only run to see if that was even remotely possible, because I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't think it is. So yeah, it's only when Phrynos accidentally hops onto an enemy that he does 10 damage. And I think that damage is supposed to be higher. I fully upgraded the damage part of Phrynos' attacks, but it never went past 10, which is weird. And the main problem with it is you just can't tell him when to attack, where to attack, who to attack. He just, again, it's just when he randomly hops around and happens to land onto an enemy that it does damage. So, pretty impossible as of right now, though if they buff Phrynos, I will definitely try that out. And thank you to everybody in the comments who is saying don't attempt that because you'll lose your sanity. I appreciate that you care that much about me. As for future runs, again, if you have any ideas, leave them in the comments. I do have a little list. So the non-Omega cast, this is this video. Dodging damage only. No dodging at all. Special attacks only. Attack only. Choosing the worst boons at every choice. RNG dictates every boon or room choice. a revenge damage build and trying to get every single hammer in a run. So, if you guys have any other ideas, let me know. I will be knocking those out as we go. And yeah, thanks. Next up, we get Hestia, and we get the exact boon that we want. Well, after we re-offer, of course. But this is glowing coal, and it just allows us to use our cast from a distance, and when it hits enemies, it does a set amount of damage and a small fiery explosion. And up here, neither Hera nor Hephaestus will really help us out, so end up altering it and getting Demeter again. So that's really good because we want her other boon that does cast damage. And I vastly prefer this mini boss over the other one in Erebus. It's just, she's so much easier. So I'm glad that we got her. I just suck at dodging the other one's attacks because you have to be within like a little circle of him to do any damage, and he does big AoE attacks, and I just, for some reason, I can't read it, and I end up getting hit by it, but it's fine. Now that we have Hestia and Demeter boons for our cast, we're actually doing a decent amount of damage, and it doesn't take too long before we take out this leafy-headed monster right here. And as a reward, we of course get the rare Demeter boons, and from Demeter I grab the rare crop boon. And what that does is it reverts all of our current boons that we have, which we only have 2, back to common rarity, and then every 3 encounters it gains rarity. So by the end of the run, both of our boons that we currently have will be heroic. I think that's the highest level. And I'll just skip through these boring areas because you guys see how the build works, and it's probably pretty boring to just listen to me talk about nothing important and watch some random ghosts get blasted. Again though, I'm already pretty surprised by how viable this build is. Again, not nearly as viable as the Apollo Omega Cast build that you can do. And if you haven't tried that build out, highly recommend. It's just insane. So much fun. But yeah, this one is doing a lot better than I thought it would so far. So it's after we complete this room that I make my first major mistake of this run. And that's going down to speak with Chaos. We got an amazing Chaos boon, and that is one that increases the damage of our casts by 44%. Which is really, really good. The only problem is every time we use our cast for the next 4 encounters, we're gonna get hit for some damage. And, well, we just so happen to get this Chaos boon right before the first boss. So the entire boss fight, every time we use our only attack that we're allowed to use, we're gonna get hit for some damage. Not great. We do get a little power over here, and we upgrade our Hestia boon to get some extra damage out of that, so that is solid. And I grabbed the other Demeter boon, because why not? So I could have gotten Tranquil Gain or Plentiful Forage, and those would have both been pretty good, but instead I decided to re-offer in order to attempt to get the other cast damaging boon, which we get, and it's purple too, which is awesome. And with all 3 of those boons in hand, that's basically all the damage we're going to get from our casts. So I'm sure 99% of you who are watching this video already know this, but Freedos can block some ranged attacks, of course, that's his main draw. And I wasn't too sure how exactly that worked, but you basically just need to be standing right behind him and then he'll block it for you. Just so you guys know, that's how I blocked the Hex over here, and you'll see how that happens pretty soon. But our ranged attack of Fire and Ice is actually doing pretty decent damage against Headmistress Hecate. She's certainly not the chunkiest boss out there, but I mean, it's not doing bad. Against Cerberus though, this damage would be nothing. So yeah, we'll get there though. That being said, we are quickly losing most of our health, and I have to heal up as much as I can, which is great. And I was somewhat regretting not getting the mana restoration boon from Demeter back there, because that would have allowed us to continuously heal, but it's fine. Our saving grace here is that this Chaos boon that we have that keeps doing damage to us, well, it can't take us out. We will never hit 0 health by using it, though if we do get hit by a single one of Hecate's attacks, we will be dead. So as long as we can dodge for one more attack, we should be okay. That wasn't bad at all. She's just lucky Tool wasn't here, otherwise it would have been a bloodbath. So after we get some health back from the fountain, I decide to go over and swap one of our keepsakes out for the Apollo keepsake. And this is really just so that we can get the increased cast size, because that'd make our life a little bit easier. But really, other than that, I think we have almost everything we need for a full build. So, yeah. Not doing too bad so far. But we still have that Chaos Boon for a couple more encounters, and that's really not going to be fun, especially in these very cramped rooms where it's harder to dodge. Thankfully, we only have 3 big slow enemies, so these guys aren't too bad, and we can take them out pretty quickly without too many problems. That being said, by the next room, we're going to have very little health left, and that's going to make things a lot more difficult. I really hope that 44% extra cast damage is going to be worth all the pain that we have to go through right now. Oof, yeah. Less than 20 health. Good lord. It's fine. Hopefully we can get the healing one from Selene right here. That would be great. If not... Oh. I guess we'll just take Night Bloom. That'll be fine. I mean, it's not like we can charge any of these up anyway, because we're not using our Omega attacks, but... And this was my second mistake of the run, was taking this room, and yeah, you'll see. We choose Demeter first because honestly she scares me more than Hestia does, but that was a mistake. We choose the Mana Restoration boon from Demeter just so that we have it for future use if we need it. And then Hestia, of course, gets mad at us and chucks a bouncing ball all around this tiny arena that leaves little pools of lava. And I'm already down to 10 health, so... Oh, make that 2 health. So there goes our first Death Defiance, and we're only in the second area. And there goes the second as well. Thanks, Chaos. Appreciate ya. I was honestly considering just resetting the run at this point. We're already down 2 Death Defiances, but I was like, you know what, F it. We have a really good build going here. We have some very rare boons, and Daisy, can you please stop tearing that up? Daisy! Thank you. Anyways, I figured that we would probably be able to buy our Death Defiances back from the Well of Charon, or that maybe somebody would give us some extra ones, so I was like, whatever, we'll make it work. And down we go to Charon's shop. So we buy the Aphrodite boon from Charon, and from Aphrodite, we grab the boon that allows us to restore up to max health whenever we exit a location, as long as we're above 70% health. Love that boon, by the way, it's so good. And either Hermes or the Palm of Power would have been good. I decided to go with the Palm for some extra damage, because why not? Damage is always great. And we just take some extra damage for our little freezing attack. And finally, it feels like we're halfway through Oceanus right here. We finally get our Apollo boon from the keepsake that we put on earlier. And it's the snaky boss right here. The Sea Serpent really isn't too bad. He does have some attacks that are annoying to dodge, but as far as mini bosses go, he's pretty easy. So we take him out without too many problems, and we get access to our Apollo boon. Unfortunately, we don't get the cast one, but we do get Blinding Sprint, which I love that one just because it debuffs enemies so that they don't hit us sometimes. Really nice. And apparently I didn't learn my lesson after losing 2 of my Death Defiances to Chaos earlier in the run, because I choose to go down another Chaos Gate. This time we choose the one that gives us some extra money, essentially, and all we need to do is complete 3 encounters within 120 seconds, so yeah, I figured we could do that. Easy. But then the first encounter that we have is extended because Artemis shows up. Which I normally love her, but now is not the time, lady. Especially because we are pretty far into Oceanus right now, and the boss room could be coming up at any point. We grab pressure points for the plus 3% critical chance. Solid boon. I always like it. And we open a couple other doors, just because I don't have enough money to buy anything from Charon right here. And the first door that we open gives us access to a Selene boon, so I just take that, because why not? And then from Selene here, this is actually pretty solid. Whenever our Hex isn't charged, we will be able to deal more damage. And I'm able to get 3 of those from the Path of Stars, so right out of the gate, plus 15% damage for doing literally nothing and playing no differently than we are right now. Yes. Yes. Unfortunately though, that free Selene boon did not count as an encounter, and we have to go into the boss fight with only about 45 seconds left on our timer from Chaos. I decided to heal up a little bit before I start attacking them, and yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. I mean, again, it's not really doing bad damage. Like, it's a nice little chunk, right? We've seen worse. Regardless of how good our damage though, our chaos clock is ticking down very rapidly. If it goes down all the way, we're going to lose 500 health, which of course is a death defiance. But I mean, they're about halfway dead and we still have 30 seconds left. It's going to be cutting it close, but we might be able to do this. It's just the phase transitions that I'm worried about right now, and the immunity shields. I feel like that's going to take up most of the time and make this a little bit more difficult for us. Alright, I ran out of things to say. I can't think of anything, so enjoy the comments. So we managed to get through Skilla and the Sirens, though we did end up losing our final Death Defiance due to the Chaos Boon.
I can use this.
That's lovely. We lost all 3 to Chaos, basically. Okay, I'm back after a short break, and we grabbed the keepsake that just gives us some extra cash. Because money is always helpful, right? We also grab a random Well of Charon item that gives us 10% damage resist for the next 5 encounters.
The purse.
Not bad. Time to make our way into the Fields of Mourning and find the good boy Cerberus. I hope one day we can free him from this curse and he will return to being the playful, loving boy that we know from Hades 1. I don't know, maybe if Melinoe tried to bring him a satyr sack instead of trying to murder him every time she sees him, things would be a little bit better, but yeah, I know it's not that simple. But we still do a pretty decent amount of damage, even in the Fields of Mourning. These enemies tend to be a lot chunkier than the previous enemies in the previous locations, so I was surprised when we were still one-shotting or nearly one-shotting everything around here. So from here we just get a Palm of Power, and I use it just to increase the power of my little flaming explosive cast boon by 15. So yeah, it's something. Nothing crazy. Our boons are almost maxed out by this point, so any palms in the future aren't really going to increase their power by too much. And we also get access to an increase for our max magic, which we don't need because we're not using any magic, but yeah, it's fine. We did run into Nemesis here, and she challenged us to take out as many enemies as we possibly can, and we took out 8, she took out 4, so on top of the max magic we also get an extra 100 coins, so yeah, that's pretty good. I didn't even know Nemesis could come into the Fields of Mourning. This is my first time seeing her here. And next up we opt for a mini boss room, and this one contains a Hestia boon, and it is the Lightning Snake Lady. And can confirm you can take her out without taking out the other Lightning Snake Ladies. So yeah. And from this, we don't really get anything from Hestia that will help us out, so we just take any of them, and yeah. I thought maybe natural gas would do something, but it doesn't, because our flaming boon doesn't inflict scorch damage. We do run into Echo again though, and we love Echo. She gives us back all of our death defiances, so she's literally the greatest ever, like ever. Though these death defiances get weaker every time we use one, still, extra lives are extra lives, and Echo is a godsend. So with our death defiances back, I'm feeling pretty confident. I think we can finish this off. I'm happy. I think this is going pretty well. And I'm really hoping we run into Hades once we get into Tartarus, and then Hades gives us the boon that gives us increased damage whenever we use our death defiances, and since we've already used 3, that would just be a straight up 30% damage boost. That would be great. So Destiny 2, the final shape, comes out 2 days. I have the day off for its launch day, so I'm going to be playing the absolute hell out of that. And would you guys be interested in seeing a full playthrough of the Legendary campaign with my commentary in the background? Let me know. We get a Daedalus Hammer from this room, which doesn't do anything for us. We then get a Hermes boon, which increases our sprint speed and gives us 1 free instance of damage that we can tank. Finally, we get 1 more Selene boon, and all we really grab from that is notable is an extra 5% damage. So we're up to 20% damage from Selene whenever our Hex isn't charged, which is always. And finally, right before Kerberos or Cerberus, whatever you want to say, we run into Charon, grab an Apollo boon, which is actually pretty cool because it's the Apollo and Demeter duo boon, though it requires us to use an Omega cast, and we're not doing that. So it's useless, but I'm glad I got it regardless because it fulfills our prophecy. Lastly, we grab a Palm of Power from Charon, and we just use that to increase the level of our glowing coal by 1, increasing our attack power from that by just 10 points. Again, we're kind of hitting the ceiling with these Palms of Power, but you know, damage is damage. Also, I'm really curious, what bosses do you guys think are the most difficult and easiest bosses in the game? Just the main location bosses. I kind of want to see what people are thinking with that. I can't really decide because I feel like Skill and the Sirens as well as Cerberus are kind of on similar levels, just in different ways. So I don't know which one is more difficult. I mean, of course, Kronos is the most difficult boss in the Underworld, but I actually had a harder time with, what's her name? Eris in the surface. It took me longer to beat Eris than it took me to beat Kronos, which is interesting. But the Cerberus boss fight, super easy, especially if you have range. Yeah.
Spirits of despair, be gone.
I don't know how they managed to make every random build viable in this game. I don't know. It's crazy. They did such a good job balancing things. We really should not have an easy time with Cerberus with this build.
How about another keepsake?
We just shouldn't. I mean, we're not even using our Omega. This should be difficult. But, you know, that'll come when Kronos pops up. Lastly, we stop at the fountain to restore some health, swap out our keepsake for the lucky tooth that gives us an extra death defiance, and make our way into Tartarus. Now, once we're in Tartarus, I am going to skip through like 90% of it and just show you guys me taking out all of the rat men that I see in this horrible place. Also the mini boss fight, but yeah. Maybe I'll play some sick metal music or something in the background, so it's like epic, like Doom, you know? Like the Doom soundtrack. We run into Cerberus and Hades again, and wow, Cerberus really does hold a grudge. He's still mad about the tool, I think. Come on, that was like weeks ago. And when we talk to Hades, he offers us boons, and I just grabbed the one that I didn't get yet, so that it fulfills our prophecy. What that does, it just restores some of our health whenever we deal damage, but we can only restore a max of 100 health, so it's not super helpful, but I mean, it'll do. It's something. Okay, and then we got the rock guy mini boss. He has a lot of armor, but once that armor is broken, he's pretty easy. I did not have any trouble with him, barely took any damage.
Hear me on my authority.
And from Aphrodite, we just grabbed the boon that gives us 20% more damage whenever we're above 80% health. That's solid. I mean, we're going to be above 80% health for a lot of this, so heck yeah.
This is my father's realm.
From the Well of Charon right here, we buy an item that allows us to purchase any future items from Charon for 30% less, which is solid because Charon is coming up pretty soon here, so yep. The enemies in Tartarus have a lot of health, so our cast isn't doing as much damage as it was, but you know, after a few casts, each enemy is dead. We're pretty close to Kronos anyway. We just have to clear 2 more rooms and then we're good to go. We get 3 Palms of Power from this, and with that I just increased the level of our Gale Force boon from 1 to 4, so we get a lot of extra damage from that. And I choose to ignore the Aphrodite and Demeter duo boon room thing, just because I don't want to deal with that right now. We end up buying the Apollo boon right here, and we don't get anything super helpful. Dazed opponents will take extra damage when we hit them from the back, but we won't really be doing that. And then from Aphrodite right here, again, nothing helpful. We just grab the special one, because why not? It doesn't do anything for us, none of them would.
This at the crossroads.
And we're ready to face Kronos. Oh, we also got some armor, by the way. I'm sure you guys saw that, but yeah. After the Tula only run, I do feel significantly more confident fighting Kronos, so I'm not too worried about this. Really glad I have the extra Death Defiances though, 4 in total. Like, yeah, I think we'll be okay. And our cast actually does a decent amount of damage to him, so that's pretty cool. I thought this was going to be much slower. And we can take out all of his little minions pretty easily. They just take 1 cast before they die essentially, and well, yeah. That just leaves Kronos. I'll let you guys enjoy the fight. It's a pretty fun fight overall, and whenever there's something to say, I'll just chirp in and say it, but love the music here. Really want you guys to experience that to the fullest, and I just can't think of anything else to say, so have fun.
Are as numerous as grains of sand.
Phase 1 was honestly a breeze. We're almost at max health still, thanks to the Hades boon that we got, as well as just us dodging a lot of his attacks. I am, of course, always worried for Phase 2 because the arena is just a little bit more difficult to dodge things in, and we also don't have the healing from the wall. But yeah, it should be okay. Again, we have a lot of Death Defiances, so I'm not too worried about it. And we have Frenos here with us, so he'll protect us from this stinky type.
This... Do not presume. You won.
And that's it. We just beat Kronos with only uncharged casts. That was actually a lot of fun. It was really cool to be able to build a somewhat viable build with all the boons that we were given. It did significantly better than I thought it would, and I'm really happy with how the run went. I'm also really glad that I did both the charged and uncharged cast runs just to compare and contrast, and I honestly think that we got the best builds for both versions of this cast run. Again, if you guys have any future video ideas, let me know in the comments. If you have anything to say that you think I don't know about the game, please say it, because I don't really watch any content about Hades 2, so let me know. Only 36 minutes to clear this run, and 191,000 damage from our casts, so that's pretty cool.
Going to work.
Anyway, if you guys enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a ton, and I really appreciate it, but if not, totally fine. Your viewership is enough for me. Thanks so much for watching.
And back to shadow she returns for now. We shall resume her tale at another time.
No! Return to shadow now.